The meeting room fell silent as Commander Jack entered. His confident stride and easy smile did little to calm the nerves of the alien representatives seated around the large oval table. This was humanity's first official diplomatic mission to the Viridian Council, a group of 23 advanced alien species who controlled most of the travel routes in this arm of the galaxy. "Welcome, human," said the tall, green-skinned ambassador, who introduced himself simply as Green. "We have heard many interesting things about your species." Jack smiled wider. "All good things, I hope." The aliens exchanged glances. One of them, a creature with 4 eyes and blue scales, twitched nervously. "Varied reports," Green said carefully. "Your species seems quite adaptable." Jack took his seat, not noticing how the aliens shifted slightly away from him. To them, humans were still an unknown factor. Reports suggested these pink, soft-looking creatures had survived multiple extinction-level events on their home planet and seemed to treat danger as some form of entertainment. The formal dinner that evening was the real test. Each species had brought their traditional foods, and custom dictated that visitors should sample everything as a sign of respect. Jack looked down at his plate. Something purple was moving slightly, and a blue jelly-like substance gave off a faint glow. He picked up what looked like a small red fruit, though the scanning device his science officer had slipped him indicated it contained enough acid to dissolve metal. The room watched in tense silence as Jack popped it into his mouth. His eyes widened slightly at the burst of extreme flavor, but he chewed carefully and swallowed. "This is actually pretty good," he said, reaching for another. Green's skin paled to a lighter shade. "That is Viridian fire fruit. It contains enough acid to burn through protective gear." Jack shrugged. "Reminds me of the ghost peppers we grow back home. Though this has a nice tangy finish." The diplomatic team made good progress over the next few days. The aliens were fascinated by humans, especially their ability to consume foods that would kill most species, and their strange habit of seeking out danger rather than avoiding it. On the 4th day, alarms blared throughout the station. Green rushed into the meeting room where Jack and his team were reviewing trade agreements. "There's been an accident at Mining Station 12, he explained hurriedly. "A coolant leak in their main reactor. The station has been evacuated, but 3 maintenance crews are trapped in the lower levels." Jack stood immediately. "How far is it? Can we reach it with our ship?" "Yes, but the radiation levels." Green started. "We have protective gear," Jack interrupted, "and our bodies can handle more radiation than many species. The temperature in the affected areas is approaching 200 degrees. Another alien added. Jack turned to his team. "Sounds like they need our help. We've handled worse during the Mars colony crisis." His eyes lit up with that distinct human gleam that the aliens were beginning to recognize and fear. "This will be fun. Let's suit up and get moving." The room fell silent. Green's assistant leaned close to him and whispered urgently, "Did the human just say this will be fun?" Green nodded slowly. "I have observed this behavior before. When humans say something dangerous will be fun, they are about to do something extremely risky that defies all logical safety protocols." The assistant backed away. "Should we stop them?" "Can you stop a solar flare?" Green asked. "Besides, those maintenance crews need help, and no one else is willing to attempt a rescue." Jack was already organizing his team, assigning roles and checking equipment specifications against the station schematics. The aliens watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as the humans discussed the deadly radiation as if it were merely an inconvenience. "Remember Singapore?" one human asked another. "This will be easier," the other replied with a laugh. Green made a quick note in his personal log. Observation number 27 regarding humans. "When they say something will be fun, prepare for chaos." Their definition of this word seems to involve potentially fatal situations that most rational beings would avoid at all costs. Despite this, or perhaps because of it, they are remarkably effective in crisis situations. As the humans rushed to their ship, Green found himself wondering if their strange approach to danger might actually save those trapped workers. For the first time, he considered that perhaps there was a method to human madness after all. The human ship raced toward Mining Station 12, a massive structure hanging in orbit around a gas giant. Red warning lights flashed across its surface, and occasional bursts of vented gas showed the station's failing systems. Jack stood on the bridge, reviewing the station schematics one last time. The maintenance crews are trapped in Sector 7, near the main coolant system. Radiation levels are climbing fast. Tom, the chief engineer, looked up from his tablet. The suits we have will only protect us for 30 minutes in those conditions. Then we'll have to be quick, Lisa replied, adjusting her equipment belt. I bet I can get to them in 25. Tom grinned. 20 tops, if I go through the emergency shafts. Jack shook his head but couldn't hide his smile. The two engineers always turned danger into a competition. Green, who had insisted on coming along as an observer, watched this exchange with growing alarm. You understand, he said carefully, that radiation at these levels will cause severe cellular damage to your bodies. We've handled worse, Lisa said with a shrug. Not much worse, Jack corrected. But we've got medical treatments that can repair radiation damage if we don't stay exposed too long. The aliens in Green's small delegation whispered among themselves. One of them checked a data device and said something that made the others move further away from the humans. As their ship docked with the mining station, the station's emergency system blared automated warnings. Danger. Critical radiation levels. Immediate evacuation required. Perfect timing, Jack said, securing his helmet. Tom, Lisa, you're with me. We'll get the trapped workers. The rest of you stay here and prepare the ship for emergency medical treatment. Green stepped forward. I wish to observe. My species can tolerate brief radiation exposure. Jack looked surprised but nodded. Stay behind us and follow instructions immediately. No questions. The station's corridors were dark, lit only by emergency lighting. Steam hissed from damaged pipes, and the radiation detector on Jack's suit clicked rapidly, showing dangerous levels. They reached a sealed door marked Sector 7. The maintenance teams are beyond this point, Jack said. According to the station's computer, the coolant leak is flooding this entire section with radiation. Tom studied the door mechanism. The emergency override is fried. We'll have to cut through. Lisa pulled a small device from her belt. I've been wanting to test this new portable plasma cutter anyway. Is that a modified weapon? Green asked nervously. It's a tool, Lisa corrected, though it might be a bit enthusiastic for its intended purpose. Tom laughed. She means she boosted its power to unsafe levels. Makes it more fun to use, Lisa said, adjusting settings on the device. Green noted how the humans used that word again. Fun. To describe something clearly dangerous. The plasma cutter sliced through the metal door faster than seemed possible. As the section fell away, alarms blared louder, and a wave of heated air rushed toward them. Radiation levels exceeding safe parameters, warned Jack's suit computer. We've got 20 minutes before our suits fail, Jack announced. Let's make this quick. Tom and Lisa exchanged competitive glances. Race you to the maintenance bay, Tom said. Winner gets first choice of desserts for a week, Lisa replied. Before Green could protest this inappropriate attitude toward a life-threatening situation, the two humans were off, moving with remarkable speed through the hazardous environment. Jack turned to Green. This is normal for them. The competition actually makes them more efficient. Green could only stare in disbelief as the humans treated the rescue mission like some kind of game. They found the maintenance crews huddled in a protected alcove, their own protective gear failing. The aliens looked up in surprise as humans appeared. Thought we were goners, one worker said. Not today, Jack replied, helping the weakest to their feet. We've got a ship waiting. Lisa examined the coolant leak while Tom organized the evacuation. Hey, Jack, she called out, I think I can seal this breach with the equipment they have here. In these radiation levels, Jack checked his gauge. We have 14 minutes before our suits fail. Lisa grinned behind her helmet. Plenty of time. Besides, if no one fixes this, the whole station might go. I'll help, Tom volunteered. Two can work faster than one. Green watched in horror as the two engineers began to repair a leaking coolant system in conditions that should have sent them running for safety. They worked with remarkable coordination, calling out technical terms to each other, occasionally laughing when something went wrong. When the coolant flow finally stabilized, Lisa pumped her fist in the air. That was fun. And we still have 3 minutes to spare. 6 months passed since the mining station incident. Green's report had spread throughout the Viridian Council and beyond, reaching all corners of the known galaxy. What had started as a confidential assessment had somehow leaked and evolved into an unofficial rule of interspecies interaction. In the large assembly hall of the Galactic Council, Admiral Stone stood tall and proud. As the newly appointed human military liaison, she found herself constantly puzzled by how alien delegates reacted to her. They seemed to respect her but kept a noticeable distance. The human fleet can provide security for the outer rim trade routes, she explained to the council members. Our ships are well equipped to handle the pirate situation in that sector. The council members exchanged nervous glances. We appreciate the offer, said a tall, thin alien with silvery skin. But the risk assessment. I've reviewed the reports, Stone interrupted. I think we can resolve this problem quickly. My crews are experienced with these kinds of operations. She smiled confidently. In fact, I'm looking forward to testing our new patrol strategies. This will be fun. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. At least 7 council members stood up and backed away from the table. 3 others quickly made excuses to leave the room. One small purple alien appeared to be sending emergency messages on its communication device. Stone blinked in confusion. Did I say something wrong? Blue, a junior diplomat who had been assigned as her guide, leaned toward her. Admiral, you used the phrase. What phrase? This will be fun. It has become significant. Stone frowned. I don't understand. Later, in the quieter setting of the embassy gardens, Blue explained everything to the bewildered human admiral. You see, after Commander Jack's mission to the mining station, Ambassador Green filed a report. The report included what we now call the human warning sign. When humans describe dangerous activities as fun, extreme caution is advised. Stone laughed out loud. That's ridiculous. Is that wise? Asked the crystalline being. Their approach to danger seems fundamentally incompatible with rational thought. Yet they succeed, the elder counselor replied. Their methods are chaotic but effective. Perhaps there is something to learn from them. Meanwhile, in her quarters, Admiral Stone recorded a message to Earth's High Command. Integration proceeding well. Have discovered an unexpected diplomatic tool. Apparently, the phrase, "this will be fun," causes aliens to take us very seriously. Recommend all human representatives be briefed on this phenomenon. Stone out. She smiled as she ended the recording. Working with aliens was turning out to be more fun than she had expected, in the human sense of the word. The emergency session of the Galactic Council stretched into its 3rd day. Holographic displays showed the same troubling images. Civilian transport ships drifting in space, their cargo holds emptied, sometimes with crews missing. The pirate problem had grown beyond containment. Captain Dredd's fleet now controls the entire Krell Nebula, reported the security chief, a tall insectoid being whose mandibles clicked nervously. Our patrols cannot enter the nebula due to the electromagnetic disturbances. The pirates used these disturbances to hide and then emerge to attack shipping lanes. An elderly counselor slammed his 3-fingered hand on the table. This is unacceptable. The nebula is a key trade route for 17 systems. Admiral Stone sat quietly, watching the debate unfold. The human military had offered help weeks ago, but the council had politely declined, preferring their own methods. Now those methods had failed. The council leader, A dignified being with gray skin and large, wise eyes turned toward Stone. "Admiral, your assessment of the situation, please." Stone stood, activating her own display showing the nebula's structure. "Captain Dredd is clever. The electromagnetic fields in the nebula disable most scanning systems, allowing his ships to hide until they choose to attack. Standard pursuit tactics are useless there." "We are aware of the problems," the insectoid security chief said, mandibles twitching impatiently. "Do humans have a solution?" Stone nodded. "We might. My scout ship Daredevil is nearby. It's small, fast, and equipped with experimental sensors that might function in the nebulous conditions." The council members looked at each other nervously. They had learned enough about humans to recognize when a dangerous plan was forming. "What exactly do you propose?" asked the council leader carefully. "A small, fast ship might be able to navigate the nebulous currents. If we can locate Dredd's main base, we can coordinate a larger attack." Stone brought up new images on the display. "Captain Ray of the Daredevil is one of our best scouts. He specializes in challenging environments." The security chief's antennae twitched. "And the risk assessment?" Stone hesitated. "High. The nebula is unstable. Navigation systems might fail. Communication will be spotty at best." "Yet you recommend this approach?" asked the council leader. "It's our best option given the circumstances," Stone replied. "Captain Ray is already on standby. He says he's eager to try the nebula run." A murmur went through the council chamber. An older member leaned toward the council leader and whispered something. The leader's eyes widened slightly. "Admiral," the leader said carefully, "will Captain Ray find this mission enjoyable?" Stone bit back a smile, recognizing the diplomatic phrasing of the question. "I spoke with him this morning. His exact words were, 'A chance to chase pirates through an electromagnetic storm. Sounds like it will be fun.'" The reaction was immediate. 3 council members stood up. The security chief's mandibles clicked rapidly, and what Stone had learned was their version of alarm. Someone at the back of the chamber seemed to be calculating evacuation routes. "I see," said the council leader, with remarkable calm. "In that case, I believe we should approve the mission immediately." He looked around the chamber, and perhaps establish a safety perimeter around the entire sector. The scout ship Daredevil was small compared to most space vessels, but its sleek design hinted at the power of its engines. Captain Ray stood on the bridge, reviewing final mission details with his crew. "The nebula will disrupt most of our systems," he explained, pointing to the swirling clouds of charged particles on the view screen. "We'll be flying mostly on visual and the new quantum sensors." His second in command, a woman with short red hair, raised an eyebrow. "Those sensors haven't been fully tested yet." Ray grinned. "What better time to test them than in a dangerous nebula full of pirates?" A communication alert sounded. The face of a very concerned alien appeared on screen. It was the Council's newly appointed Human Activity Safety Officer. "Captain Ray," the alien said formally, "the Council has approved your mission, but requests a detailed outline of your planned approach before you proceed." Ray nodded. "Simple enough. We'll enter the nebula, use our experimental sensors to locate Dredd's fleet, then transmit coordinates back to the Council forces." The alien's large eyes blinked rapidly. "And your method for dealing with the electromagnetic disturbances that disable all other ship systems?" Ray's grin widened. "Well, that's the interesting part. We're going to use our ship's reactor to create a controlled pulse that should temporarily clear a path through the interference." "Your ship's reactor?" The alien's voice rose in pitch. "The energy required would be substantial, yes," Ray interrupted cheerfully. "We'll have to reroute power from life support for a few minutes. Nothing we haven't handled before." The alien was silent for a moment. Then, very carefully, it asked, "Captain Ray, would you describe this mission as fun?" Ray laughed. "Absolutely. Chasing pirates through an impossible nebula using untested technology while running on minimal life support. This will be the most fun I've had in months." The alien officer immediately ended the transmission. Moments later, an automated alert came through. All non-essential personnel are advised to maintain a minimum safe distance of 2 light-years from the Krell Nebula until further notice. Hazard pay has been authorized for all Council forces in the sector. Ray turned to his crew, all humans, who were trying not to laugh. "I think we've been cleared for launch." Captain Ray's plan worked better than anyone expected, and worse than anyone feared. The Daredevil entered the Krell Nebula, a swirling mass of purple and blue gases that sparkled with dangerous energy discharges. Most ships' navigation systems failed within minutes of entering this cosmic storm, but Ray had come prepared. "Reactor output at maximum," reported his engineer, fingers dancing across the control panel. "Quantum sensors online but unstable." Ray nodded, his eyes fixed on the view screen where the nebula's currents twisted like living things. "Begin the pulse sequence." The ship hummed as power redirected from all non-essential systems. Life support dimmed to minimum levels, and the temperature dropped noticeably. "Pulse ready," said the engineer. "But sir, this could overload our containment fields." Ray grinned. "Only if we do it wrong." "Fire." The Daredevil shuddered as a wave of energy burst from its core, spreading outward in all directions. The electromagnetic interference around them temporarily cleared, like a bubble of calm in a storm. Their sensors suddenly showed dozens of readings: hidden ships, bases, and what appeared to be a makeshift space station cobbled together from stolen vessels. "Got them," Ray exclaimed. "Record everything and prepare to transmit coordinates back to the Council forces." His communications officer frowned. "The pulse is fading fast, sir. We need to send the data now, before the interference returns." "Send it," Ray ordered. The data packet shot out just as the nebula's disruption closed back around them. But something unexpected happened. The energy pulse had triggered a chain reaction in the nebula's unstable gases. What began as a small bubble of clear space was expanding, the reaction feeding on itself. Alarms blared across the bridge. "Sir," the science officer called out, her voice tight with concern, "the nebula's electromagnetic field is collapsing." Ray watched as the beautiful and deadly purple haze began to dissipate across a vast area, revealing the pirate fleet that had been hiding within. Captain Dredd's ships were now fully exposed, their positions clear to everyone in the sector. "That wasn't supposed to happen," Ray muttered, then shrugged. "But I'll take it." Back at Galactic Council headquarters, chaos erupted as reports flooded in. Massive navigational disruptions affected 3 star systems. Commercial ships reported instrument failures. Space stations adjusted their shields against unexpected radiation bursts. Admiral Stone stood before an emergency session of the Council, trying to maintain her composure as angry delegates shouted questions. "Yes, the nebula's electromagnetic field has partially collapsed," she confirmed. "But this has exposed Captain Dredd's entire fleet. Council forces are moving in to capture them as we speak." "What about the 3 star systems now experiencing navigational hazards?" demanded an amphibian counselor, their throat sack puffing in anger. "The effect is temporary," Stone assured them, hoping the scientists back home were right about that prediction. "Our models suggest the nebula will restabilize within 2 to 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks. The security chief's mandibles clicked so rapidly they became a blur. "Do you realize the economic impact?" The council leader raised a hand for silence. "Admiral Stone, we appreciate that the pirate threat has been neutralized. Captain Dredd's fleet has been captured intact, and the stolen goods will be returned. However, the collateral effects of Captain Ray's approach are concerning." Stone nodded. "I understand, Council Leader. Captain Ray's methods were unconventional. He created a navigational disaster across 3 star systems," shouted someone from the back of the chamber. As the debate continued, a different meeting was taking place in a smaller, darker room elsewhere in the Council building. 5 figures sat around a table, their features obscured by dim lighting. "The humans must be contained," said one voice. They are too unpredictable, too dangerous. Their approach to problem-solving is fundamentally incompatible with stable galactic civilization, agreed another. The order of predictability has warned about this for years, said a third voice. Chaotic species lead to chaotic outcomes. The nebula incident proves our point. The leader of the group, a tall figure with a rigid posture, leaned forward. We have allies in the Council. We can use this incident to push for restrictions on human activities in Council space. Quarantine, suggested one. Perhaps. For now, let us focus on diplomatic isolation. Turn the other species against them. Make their unpredictability seem threatening rather than useful. As they plotted, news of the pirates' capture spread throughout the galaxy. Despite the disruption to the nebula, most ordinary citizens considered it a fair trade. Captain Dread had terrorized shipping lanes for years, and now he was in custody. In the Great Hall of the Council, an elderly alien named Old Gray listened to the heated debates. Unlike the younger members who saw only chaos in human methods, he had lived long enough to recognize patterns in apparent randomness. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their chaos had a strange way of resolving complex problems that careful planning could not. While others shouted for sanctions against Earth, Old Gray began to formulate a different approach. Perhaps what the galaxy needed was not less human chaos, but a better understanding of it. And he knew just how to achieve that. Old Gray stood before the full Galactic Council, his ancient body supported by a hovering mobility chair. Few could remember a time when he had personally addressed the assembly, which made the chamber fall silent with anticipation. Esteemed members, he began, his voice surprisingly strong. I have lived through 17 galactic political cycles. I have seen species rise and fall, threats emerge and dissolve. The human question before us today is not unique, merely new to most of you. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The council leader gestured for silence. The order of predictability suggests that humans be isolated, their influence contained. Old Gray continued. This reaction is based on fear, not wisdom. Throughout history, every species that offered something new was first met with suspicion. A counselor from the mineral-based crystalline collective raised a glittering appendage. With respect, Elder, the nebula incident caused substantial economic damage. The human approach to problem-solving is demonstrably dangerous. Old Gray's eyes twinkled. Indeed. And yet, dangerous tools are often the most useful. I propose not isolation, but integration, through a test. The chamber buzzed with conversation again. The council leader leaned forward. What sort of test, Elder Gray? The alliance test, Old Gray replied. An ancient tradition, seldom used in modern times. A joint mission of such difficulty that it will either prove humans too chaotic to work with or demonstrate their value beyond doubt. Admiral Stone, sitting quietly at the human delegation's table, felt a chill. The aliens were finally showing their hand. This wasn't just about Ray's nebula incident. This was about whether humanity would be accepted as equals in the galactic community. Old Gray manipulated controls on his chair, and a holographic image appeared above the council floor. A region of space so dark it seemed to swallow the light around it, with occasional flashes of strange energy within. The void, gasped several council members. Indeed, said Old Gray. 30 years ago, our most advanced research station was lost there while studying space-time anomalies. The data it collected may be crucial to understanding the fabric of our universe. I propose a joint mission, humans and representatives from 5 other species, to retrieve this data. The security chief's mandibles clicked anxiously. The void has claimed hundreds of ships. Its gravitational anomalies, temporal distortions, and space-dwelling predators make it nearly impossible to navigate. Precisely why it is the perfect test, Old Gray replied. If humans can work successfully with other species in the most dangerous region of known space, then their chaotic methods have value. If not, he left the sentence unfinished. Admiral Stone stood. Humanity accepts this challenge. 3 days later, in a secure briefing room, Dr. Alex studied the mission parameters with growing concern. As Earth's leading expert on extreme space phenomena, she had been selected to lead the human portion of the Void mission. The projected survival rate on the display before her was not encouraging. The research vessel Horizon hovered at the edge of the Void, its specialized shields glowing as they fought against the strange forces already pulling at the ship. On the bridge, Dr. Alex and her mixed crew made final preparations for what many considered a suicide mission. "Final systems check," Alex called out, her voice steady despite the tension filling the air. "Quantum navigation online," reported the human pilot. "Shield harmonics stable," added the crystalline engineer, its facets glowing with complex patterns. "Life support optimized for all 6 species," confirmed the arboreal, who had gradually warmed to the mission over the past week of preparation. Alex nodded, studying the swirling darkness ahead. The Void looked like a hole torn in the fabric of space, occasional flashes of energy illuminating its edges. Somewhere in that impossible darkness lay the research station, lost for 30 years, along with its precious data and any survivors who might have been trapped in temporal anomalies. "Remember," she said to the crew, "we don't fight the currents. We ride them." She turned to the temporal crew member, the oldest and wisest among them. "Your species has the best natural sense of temporal distortion. You'll be our early warning system." The ancient being nodded solemnly. "I can feel the time flows already. There are ripples ahead, places where time runs differently." "That's our advantage," Alex replied. "Previous missions tried to maintain normal space-time. We're going to use the distortions to get where others couldn't." The Luminate, a being of pure energy contained in a specialized suit, pulsed with nervous light. "The predators that dwell within the Void. They sense energy patterns. My presence may attract them." "Also part of the plan," Alex said with a smile that made the alien crew members exchange worried glances. "You're our early detection system. You'll sense them before our instruments can." She took her seat in the command chair. "All stations ready. Then let's do this." The Horizon moved forward, crossing the threshold into the Void. Immediately, the ship began to shudder. Displays flickered, gravity shifted slightly, and a strange humming vibrated through the hull. "Gravitational eddies detected," called out the pilot. "Beginning evasive pattern alpha." Instead of fighting against the forces pulling them, the ship twisted into them, using their own energy to propel it deeper. It was like surfing a wave of space-time itself. "Temporal distortion ahead," warned the temporal, its eyes glowing with an inner light. "Time will flow differently for the next 17 seconds. All crew, prepare for temporal shift," Alex announced calmly, as if this were a routine drill rather than a phenomenon that had destroyed countless ships. The distortion hit them. For some crew members, it felt like minutes passed in seconds. For others, seconds stretched into hours. The strange sensation left all but Alex and the temporal disoriented. "Status report," Alex called out once regular time flow resumed. "We're alive," said the arboreal, sounding surprised. "The ship's integrity is maintained." "Of course we are," Alex replied with that unsettling human confidence. That was just the outer layer of the Void. The real challenges are still ahead. For 3 days, they navigated deeper, encountering phenomena that defied the laws of physics. Gravity reversed. Time flowed backward briefly. Strange entities of pure darkness approached the ship, attracted by the Luminate's energy signature, only to be dispersed by precisely calculated energy pulses from the shields. Throughout it all, Alex remained calm, often smiling when new challenges arose, much to the continued discomfort of the alien crew. On the 4th day, they detected it, a faint energy signature matching the lost research station. "There," Alex pointed to the display. "It's trapped in a temporal bubble. That's why no one could find it. It's experiencing time thousands of times slower than the surrounding space." But between them and the station lay the most dangerous obstacle yet, a swirling vortex of gravitational forces so intense it resembled a black hole, though it was something else entirely. No way around it, the pilot reported grimly. We'd have to go back and approach from another vector, which would take weeks. Alex studied the swirling darkness, her eyes reflecting its strange light. No, we go through it. The alien crew stared at her in shock. That's impossible, the crystalline stated flatly. The gravitational forces would tear us apart. Not if we surf it, Alex replied, like riding the event horizon of a black hole. The math works, barely, but it works. You've calculated this, asked the temporal, sounding impressed despite itself. Last night, Alex confirmed. Couldn't sleep. Too excited. The alien crew had come to understand many human behaviors over their journey, but this, finding the prospect of riding a near black hole exciting, still baffled them. This, Alex said with a grin that now made the aliens lean in rather than back away, is going to be really fun. And remarkably, not one of them moved to leave their station. Instead, they prepared for the impossible maneuver with a new feeling: trust. The horizon accelerated toward the vortex, its engines straining. At precisely the right moment, Alex gave the command to execute the slingshot maneuver. The ship skimmed the edge of the gravitational well, using its enormous pull to gain tremendous velocity while somehow maintaining structural integrity. They shot through space like a bullet, directly toward the research station, breaking free of the last barriers the void placed in their way. As they approached the station, they discovered something miraculous. Due to the time dilation effect, the crew had aged only a few months, while 30 years had passed outside. They were alive, waiting in a station that had become their lifeboat in a sea of twisted space-time. When the rescue was complete, and the horizon emerged from the void with both Data and survivors intact, the news spread throughout the galaxy. The council chamber fell silent as Alex presented their findings and methodology. The key, she explained, was not fighting the void, but understanding it. What seemed like chaos actually followed complex patterns. By working with these patterns rather than against them, we succeeded where conventional approaches failed. Old Gray, watching from his seat of honor, nodded in approval. That evening, in a formal ceremony, the Galactic Council officially recognized Earth as a full member, with a special notation. Humans are to be consulted in crisis situations where conventional approaches have failed. Admiral Jack, now promoted after his early diplomatic successes, stood proudly as the human representative. When a new crisis was brought before the Council, a potential supernova threatening several inhabited systems, the Council leader turned to him expectantly. "Admiral," he said, "would humanity be willing to assist with this problem?" Jack studied the data briefly, then smiled. "This will be fun," he said. Instead of panic, the chamber fell silent with anticipation. Green, now the Viridian High Ambassador, simply nodded and said, "Then we shall proceed with the human plan." The galaxy had learned that when humans said, "This will be fun," it wasn't time to run away. It was time to pay very close attention, because something extraordinary was about to happen.